Welcome to the Franchise Woman Podcast, where passion and purpose collide, profits are made, and relationships forged. I'm Rebecca Monet, CEO and Chief Scientist at Zoracle Profiles. I'm here with my co host, community advocate, speaker, author, and entrepreneur, Tracy Kawa. Tracy, we've already had a little bit of chance to talk with Chantel Soumis. She is a dynamic force at the intersection of branding, leadership, and community. As a host of LinkedIn Local Madison, after launching the Chicago and Milwaukee chapters of it's the Women's Franchise Network, right? Is that what it is? All right. Chantel has become a celebrated connector, building spaces with professionals that can thrive through authentic relationships and shared purpose. An international speaker on personal branding, thought influence, and LinkedIn strategy, Chantel has shared stages with some of the world's brightest minds. Chantel has also served as a fractional CMO, which is Chief Marketing Officer, guiding franchise brands and B2B businesses to align passion with profit through strategic brand storytelling, community engagement, and scalable marketing systems. She's fueled by a deep love for the communities that she builds. Chantel actively gives back by mentoring emerging leaders, participating in local events, and of course, sparking conversations that matter. Her story is proof that when passion and purpose collide, powerful impact follows. Chantel, thank you for making time for us today.
Thank you so much for letting me join you today on this conversation.
Yeah, this is going to be a really exciting interview. I'm looking forward to it. So a little while ago, Chantel, Rebecca dubbed you a freshman in franchising, which I thought was very cool. So I'm wondering how you fell into this school.
I love it. Yes. Freshman is such a perfect word for it because I am joining franchising with a fresh set of eyes and perspective and enthusiasm, just like stepping into that first day of college, freshman in college or freshman even in high school, where I'm opening my eyes and learning so much from everyone around me and my mentors at the same time. I fell into it a little bit more. Well, first of all, I didn't realize this, but my parents were franchisees growing up.
Oh,
Yes, in addition to owning their own accounting firm, they were multi-unit business owners and they were franchisees in things like BP gas stations and oil change facilities. And my mom did a popcorn thing for a while, but these things don't usually come up in conversation with your children. So as an adult, I'm learning so much more than I ever did. And I'm piecing together these pieces like a little bit of a puzzle to understand the full scope of things. But I did come from over 20 years of experience in marketing leadership from many other industries, including pharma, big tech, SaaS, service-based organizations. And really, at the end of the day, a lot of those industries plug and play into the franchising space, depending on which experience we're building.
that's a really good point because a lot of companies may start out as corporate owned situations and then decide a good way to grow is through franchising, right? Through getting independent business owners in that local marketplace. So I guess I have a personal question as it relates to that. Do you see your parents in a different light now after you learned that they were entrepreneurs, business owners?
Absolutely. I definitely feel like as I get older, every year that passes, I just have more, a deeper respect for my parents. They're my best friends too, but there was a time where I put them through a lot of stuff, a lot of stuff as a teenage girl would, and a growing girl, and then a young mom. And then I just every time I take on a new client, I think about an issue or a situation that I saw them in and how they always handled it with such strength and dignity. And they really leaned into their circles as well, like the local chamber of commerce and so much more. So yes, absolutely. It has strengthened my relationship with my parents even more than it ever could be.
That's so awesome. Chantel, I was reading on your LinkedIn profile and you literally started off with talking about your mom. And that really struck me. You were saying how she inspired you, but it was something very specific. You said, I believe it was her craftiness. Can you tell us
Yes.
about that?
You know, there's something to be said about finding a career in the things that you love most. And somebody told me that when you think about joy and how it fills you up, you need to go back in time to those things that lit you up as a child. And that was
Mhm.
always the act of play. And my mom is an artist, and she, as you can tell by having all the hats and doing all the things, she loves to perform this kind of symphony of getting things done, whether that's taking a ton of paint and throwing it on a canvas, or we would go out in the woods and find materials to make fairy houses. Well, being able to take nothing and build it into something is just, it's so rewarding at the end of the day, especially when it comes to marketing and creativity, because you can really see how taking thought forms and ideas and putting them into motion and then seeing those numbers just continue to hockey stick in your growth trajectory, it's extremely rewarding.
Amazing.
So it's interesting how you crossed over here, that creative, inspirational environment that your mom provided, whether you were watching her or participating. How much of that craftiness and creativity then has rolled over into your love for marketing?
Oh, I mean, it snowballed, right? I used to have this little pin that I wore that said crafty as a fox. And that is like the essence of resourcefulness, right? If you're sent into a new tool and you have to figure out how to use it in order to do your job, I thrive in those situations. Is it a little, do I panic a little bit first? Yes, I do panic. But I always stop and I always get my mind around things and I always figure it out and then thrive. And there's something about that, again, that feeling of accomplishment, of just getting things done that is so beautiful and so transformative that just makes you just want to do it every single day. Wake up, do it again. Wake up, do it again. But this time we're going to do it this way, or this time we're going to figure out this new resource or tool. Especially in marketing in the age of AI, when we're using all of these tools like video tools or even using ChatGPT and different prompts to make a press release a little bit more impressive. All of those little
Mm.
entities and assets become that being crafty or being resourceful that I thank my mom over and over and over again for teaching me these things since I was a little baby.
Well, your enthusiasm is so infectious. I don't know about you, Rebecca, but I would love to hear like one brand story, maybe that you created, or just something pertaining to marketing that you might have done that you felt very fulfilled and rewarded,
Well, oh, just to pick one is always so hard because
right?
there's so many. But I can tell you one thing is back in COVID, right during the beginning of the pandemic when the whole world shut down, personal branding and thought influence became huge. Everybody needed to do it. And luckily, I had my own agency at the time, Stardust Creative, where I specialized in personal branding and thought influence. And when you're all tuning in the same exact way, nobody's untouchable. So I had the audacity to get in touch with somebody named Matthew McConaughey. And I got the chance to interview him on his career with personal branding, his reputation management, and his career in being going from this rom-com star to being a more established, credible, thoughtful and sought after representative, not just in acting, but in entrepreneurship and in representing other brands as well. So it's extremely exciting. I mean, honestly, nobody's untouchable, nobody's out of reach. And that's the biggest lesson. And I think the biggest thing that really changed my life in terms of understanding and unlocking other career opportunities.
What a fabulous answer. Oh my goodness. Did not
Yeah.
expect that.
But that really is the lesson, isn't it? Is no one's untouchable, no one's unreachable. To have that kind of mindset, um, how has that changed your opportunities? How has that changed your confidence or your even courageousness?
Oh, that's a good question. And the reason why it's so good is because there's such a difference between confidence and courage.
Hmm.
And I feel like I've always struggled with confidence, right? And I always said I would never be in sales because I hate rejection. Don't like it at all. Makes me sad. It's hard not to take things personally. But what it helped with was definitely being more courageous and understanding that at the end of the day, we're all human. We all have our own stories. We are all living our own lives, dealing with our own challenges during the day. Everybody puts on pants the same way, right? Isn't that the saying? So that really helped me unlock the sense that people want to give. People want to answer their phone and they want to show up and answer your questions and help one another out. And that is, again, bringing it all back full circle is why I ultimately fell in love with franchising, because everyone here, no matter what their role is, whether they're an office coordinator or a CEO, everybody wants to see one another thrive. And that's really special.
Um,
I want to address something before we go on to the next question to highlight what you just said. At Zorkel, we measure a bunch of different psychographic markers, including how you separated confidence versus courageousness, because they are two different things. And the courageousness allows us to take initiative even when we don't have confidence. We're still going to do it. For you to reach out to Matthew McConaughey, that took a lot of courageousness to get over that, am I going to be rejected? But you did it anyway because you were courageous. You overrode that confidence piece that said, I could be rejected. You chose initiative instead. So I really want to applaud you. And I'm seeing you doing the same thing in the franchise space. So I really wanted to highlight the importance of that in your life. And I'm hoping others catch the drift there, that we don't have to be confident to be courageous, right?
So true. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for saying that too.
That's such a good distinction. And isn't there a quote on that? Feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yes. Shoot your shot. That's my that's my
There you
mantra.
Your
go.
shot.
Shoot. I come from a hockey background. All three older brothers played hockey. So the Wayne Gretzky quote of "you miss 100% of the shots you don't take" really stands firm in my household to date.
For
Yeah.
sure.
So
So Chantel, tell us a little bit more about your role as a fractional CMO and all the changes that are going on in the world of AI and personal branding, business, all of that. Tell us what's going on there.
Absolutely. So, as a fractional chief marketing officer, I didn't realize this was a thing until it's really become more of a buzzword and a trend over the past couple of years, this last year specifically. And being a fractional is super exciting because you can manage multiple brands at once and you can use that data on other clients, right? So say I have 4 beauty brands that I am a CMO for. I can use one beauty brand, the top performer, for their ads strategy and their metrics, look at those and see, okay, well, what's the underlying issue or the common denominator that's actually making these perform so well? And then we can compare those to our other clients and say, okay, well, this is what we need to do over here to amplify these results even further. So that's the secret sauce in terms of being a fractional CMO. I have a lot at the privilege of seeing and working with that information, obviously keeping it proprietary so that my clients never see that. But behind the scenes, I can make a lot more magic happen equipped with all of that data, which I love. So that's the CMO space and why I love it so much. And there's also the sense of building these processes and these programs in the franchising space, because once folks have those systems in hand and they work and they hum along so well, it's another thing off of somebody else's plate, which makes them excited and it makes everybody look good.
Good point.
there used to be this saying that all of marketing is an experiment. But I also think, and this is just me thinking out loud, you're the expert. I'm thinking that, that was before a lot of data was incorporated, before we were able to aggregate so much data, before we were able to use AI and have so many tools. What is your take on that? How much of marketing is still and experiment?
Ooh, that's such a good question because that's how I feel about brand awareness. So the difference between brand awareness and lead generation is brand awareness is so hard to measure. It really is the ultimate experiment. And what that means is your guerrilla marketing, right? Or your billboard. Sure, you can get an assessment from the billboard company on how many impressions or views it's going to get a day, a week, a month, but really, how does it resonate with your audience? So that is the real experiment there because you can't track that as well as you can with your click funnels online and your Google ads or your display ads and video ads because you can see people are clicking on different things and heat mapping their journey and seeing where they're at on the website. So I think that on the lead gen side, we're away from that quote a little bit more, but on the brand awareness side, we have so much more work to be done in terms of tracking and measurability, because a lot of the way to track mindshare is specifically asking your prospects, how did you hear about us? And a lot of times when sales takes over, they're not thinking about that. They're
No.
thinking about closing the sale. So it is a trick and a little bit of a gap that we need to constantly work at to fill.
Yeah, and part of me says too that that branding component, we have to hear and see that brand for a period of time before we even take action. So I could see where it would be a little bit harder to add data to that rather than it's now an official lead and here's how we process it. That's a really good point. So let's talk a little bit about your worldly experience of doing some public speaking. So tell us a little bit about the message when it comes to owning your own voice while growing your brand, kind of that personal brand versus business brand. How do you own your own voice while still um, speaking about your brand or having people learn about your brand?
Absolutely. I feel like user-generated content is so overlooked by major corporations and large franchisors at this time, when really it is the secret weapon. It's the secret sauce, and everybody needs to be focusing on their personal brand. We're teaching courses about it in high school and college now, unlike we did 10, 15, 20 years ago when I was in high school or college. And it really amplifies the critical piece of the fact that you are findable. You can be found on any app, on any social media network, and search results, especially AI, loves to dig through those forums and authentic engagement messaging portals and comments to find stuff that a user is actually looking for. So when I used to speak about that, well, I do. So on the train in your lane side, I focus on using AI to help you with a lot of this because it's so easy now. It's so easy to build your personal brand and understand who you are in order to step into your true self so that you can really further your career. And what I love about that is finding the harmony between what lights you up every single day. Like for me, we've already talked about it. It's creative. It's finding the joy and the play in my day. But for other people, it might be like chewing on data every single day. It might be the scientist side. Yeah, Rebecca. It's really understanding and analyzing all of the details within this cohort of research that you have.
Mm-hmm.
And once you understand that, like your whole world opens up to understanding your personal brand, which is your fundamentals of who you are and what you do, why you do what you do, and why somebody should pay you or hire you to do what you do. And having that dialogue and keeping everything as consistent as possible across the board builds so much trust, and it builds so much engagement and connection that being a creator, you don't know you're having. But when you share a piece of content, whether it's a video, a post, an article, and your audience resonates with that message, it literally impacts their life. It could change their life. It could change their entire day, whether that's a suggestion on how to deal with conflict at work, or it's a suggestion on organizing your workload so that you don't have these mental breakdowns or even burnout at the end of the week. It's extraordinary and I love it so much. So that's one of my topics where I can't get enough of it. It's so much fun.
So just as a foundational definition for our audience, can you define user-generated content? Because
Yes.
I think people look at that as so many different ways.
Mhm.
You're right. So I would define it as your employees sharing your story on your behalf, building an army of advocates. That's user-generated content. And on the other side of the coin, you could be creating a lot of difficulty and a lot of anguish in the media by creating these armies that are against a brand. They're against something. And that's the beauty of social media and the power of digital communications, because nothing's off the table. It could go any way, and you have to be extremely strategic with everything that you do as a brand.
Wow.
You know, when I first heard this term personal branding as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, it happened to be with one of my employees. And she was talking about her personal branding, her personal branding. This was many years ago. And of course, she was a millennial and she understood all of these things, and I was ignorant. And I took it very personal. Like, what do you mean? You should be talking about our brand, right? You shouldn't be talking about yourself. So it took me a while to understand how they really are hand and glove. And even this whole idea of founder branding, right? Where you are highlighting who the founder is and how that relates to the branding. So I really love that you're clarifying that for individuals, that all of those things are important and they work together, not just individually, but they really are kind of a hand in glove sort of thing. So
I love that you mentioned that, because I actually had a client at one time. Wait, no, this was actually a full-time employer who had a knee-jerk reaction to me creating content, sharing lessons that I learned, leadership things, management styles, because I wasn't giving full focus to the company.
for the
But
company, yeah.
right, but really having my own personal brand was strengthening a slew of industry relationships that we couldn't live without, even though I'm not in sales. So it was an interesting, ebb and flow, but eventually he caught on, and he gave him. He drank the Kool-Aid too.
Yeah, I did too, but I had a knee-jerk reaction. I took it very personal, like you're being paid. So, company, we're
To build
supposed to
your own
have
personal
company
brand.
better. So I had a lot of learning to do. Ignorance is not always bliss, and this was a great example of that. So I want to shift gears for just a second. I'm born and raised in Switzerland. And I know exactly what is meant by a Swiss Army knife.
Oh,
And it is also the way you describe yourself as a marketeer, as a results-oriented individual. So tell us what you mean by you're a Swiss Army knife.
Well, first of all, I love that you're from Switzerland. This is literally one of my favorite places in the whole entire world. But I digress. Swiss Army knife. So if you're a marketer, you can either be a generalist, which I hate that term, or a specialist, right? Well, I went down the more generalist route as a head of marketing for multiple companies. And being the head of marketing really means you do all the things for not enough money and you take on all of the responsibilities. So if anything ever goes wrong, it always falls on you, right? There's no team, there's probably a couple team members and a handful of vendors, if you will. But at the end of the day, you have to become extremely sharp when it comes to everything you touch, so that if anything goes wrong, you can quickly identify what that is and solve it ASAP. Otherwise, your reputation, your identity, everything else is on the line as well. And I take myself pretty seriously in my career. So to a fault sometimes, where I really do emphasize the importance of continued education, taking webinars once a week, or doing a class at your local technical college at night, or something along those lines, where you can constantly learn and understand those new tools, technologies, and specialize in those different areas as more of a generalist title. So I think that's a pretty common thorn in a marketer's side that they have to be a Swiss Army knife if they're a head of marketing, because you do take all of the blame and you carry all of the weight on your shoulders for not just the marketing strategy, but the whole company's brand in a nutshell as well.
Yeah, those of you not familiar with a Swiss Army knife, please look it up. I mean, literally, it has every single gadget, a fork, a knife, a spoon. It has a corkscrew opener. It has all kinds of things. In other words, like you're describing, and I don't like the word generalist either, but it's basically a single person, a single tool that can do many different things and do them very well, all within a single tool, like a knife, a Swiss Army knife. In this case, Chantel Soumis, she is a Swiss Army knife.
I love it. Thank you. Yes, great description.
Living, breathing Swiss Army knife. So, getting back to personal branding, if you were going to give someone one tip on where to start, because it can be daunting for somebody who doesn't know what to do or how to brand themselves, what would that first initial dip that toe in that water look like?
Oh, back in the day before AI, which is crazy to think about that this world is turning that quickly. I would have said, understand yourself through personality assessment so that you can understand how you operate mentally, and charismatically, I suppose, by understanding your Myers-Briggs, your DISC assessments, your human design is my favorite. It's a newer age personal identifier.
Historical profile.
Yes.
And historical. Don't forget
Historical in
historical
there.
there, Chantel.
I love it. There's so many
Talking
cool.
our language.
I love it. I'm so glad
Okay.
I'm with you. Well, those assessments really do help you understand yourself better so that you can operate to your fullest capability without the burnout, without the anguish, and so forth. But now that we are in this age of AI and ChatGPT can be your best friend. Same with Gemini. If you're not familiar with Gemini, it's a free tool for any Google user. You can actually ask your ChatGPT engine to be your personal brand expert and build your personal brand for you by asking you questions one at a time. And every time it asks you a question and you give it a response, it will change its next question, to adapt to your previous response. So it can get to know you as easily as possible, and then it will feed you an incredible personal brand strategy. And you can even push it further to get a social media strategy or a podcast tour lined up or a media tour, or even give you ideas for writing a book.
Oh my goodness. It's your own personal assistant that understands you probably better than you understand yourself.
That's the playbook right there.
It's wild. It's wild.
That's crazy. I wanted to ask some questions about stay in your lane and the role that you have. So tell us a little bit more about stay in a lane and the services that are provided.
Yes. So Stay in Your Lane is run by the fearless and incredible Ingrid Schneider. I put on my LinkedIn that I'm actually the president of her fan club because I love her so much.
I saw that.
She is a fountain of wisdom in terms of franchising marketing, but she's also extremely empathetic and understands the human side as well and consumer psychology. And Stay in Your Lane really focuses specifically on marketing and branding and fractional services. So I am a fractional CMO at Stay in Your Lane, but I actually serve Stay in Your Lane's clients as a fractional CMO. So I plug myself into their leadership meetings and their team calls to give updates on marketing and branding and so forth. So it's basically you pay for a CMO, like a part-time CMO, but you also unlock an entire marketing department because we've got a designer, a web designer, a UX expert, a Google Ads master, and so much more. So that's the Stay in Your Lane side. We also do the franchise development side, and that's really fitting for us because we help with the marketing strategy, and then we generate the inbound leads, which means cutting corners away from brokers so that our franchisors don't have to pay those big broker fees, so they get more money in their pocket. And then we pass it off to our Fran Dev team, who then takes it over. It's a warm lead. We talk to them. They know exactly who they're getting on the call with, et cetera. So that's stay in your lane. And then the train in your lane side is really training. And we say that it's more corporate AI training, so it expands beyond franchising, but it's so critical. And I can't emphasize it enough. If companies don't have AI policies in place yet, you could be in for a big mess of destruction. So the AI side, or the train in your lane side, goes with AI training 1.0 all the way up to like 5.0 or wherever we're at in terms of understanding the AI and how it works, or whatever tools that they're using. It's extremely customized too, but also personal branding, leadership trainings, etc. It's really exciting because, like I said, my obsession with education and sharpening those knives, sharpening the corkscrew and the Swiss Army knife, it really helps to learn, share, which is really fun.
Can you define what you are saying by AI policies?
Yes. So every company needs to have an AI policy so that your employees, your franchisees know exactly what's on the table and off the table to avoid mass destruction. So if you're pushing your numbers into AI, it can be publicly found, right? If you're pushing your monthly numbers, your revenue goals, anything like that, it can be found online. So that if you're working on an FDD, you need to make sure that it's fully registered and published before you do any work with it in ChatGPT or another tool. So those are the elements that you usually keep under wraps, and that's what goes into an AI policy.
Yeah, it's so important. That conversations come up quite a bit in the world of franchising, because there are things that are not for the public, or at least not for the public yet. And you certainly don't want to give away company secrets by using ChatGPT. So, okay, I hate to wrap this up, but we're going to have to. Chantel, tell us how folks could learn more about Stay in Your Lane, and how they can learn more about you and get in touch with you.
LinkedIn, absolutely. So follow us on LinkedIn, follow me. I mean, connect with me, send me a message. I do have some space. That sounds so bad to say, but yes, I have over 84,000 followers, and you're capped at 30,000 connections. So I have like room for maybe 100 left. Contact me over there, and then I'll keep cleaning up whatever. That feels weird, just kicking people out of the group.
Out
But
of here.
yeah, get out of the group chat. Yeah, I haven't heard from you in years. But that's the best place to go. Otherwise, I can definitely give you my email or the websites.
I call it a fire hazard, right? Yeah, sorry, we're over limit. It's a fire hazard. Some of you are going to have to leave.
I love that. That's how I describe my son's room as a
A
fire
fire
hazard.
That's hilarious. Thank you, Chantel, for being here. I learned a lot from this conversation, and you lit a fire under my rump to learn more about AI and learn more about personal branding, and to really get my act together in terms of the marketing side. Your passion is contagious. There is no doubt at all. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much. And report back on your ChatGPT or Gemini usage for your personal brand building. Can't wait to hear what you
I may reach out to you to have you coach me through it, girly,
I
because
love it.
I need help.
I got you.
Help.
I got you.
And then Tracy, over to you for final words.
I don't want to go. I love
Oh,
this.
me
I love
neither.
this interview. So, one thing I noticed about you, Chantal, is you have the gift of differentiation. You're able to see a problem and pull out all sides of it. And I'll give you an example. Like the way you were saying confidence versus courage, they're not one and the same. The way you were saying brand awareness versus lead gen. Like it seems like you really have this gift that you've been blessed with, and you use it really, really well. So that was exciting for me to see. And again, like Rebecca said, your enthusiasm is totally contagious.
It
Thank you
really
so
is.
much. Thank you.
Yeah, that is a gift. That
It
really
is.
is a gift
Yeah.
because you can simplify any kind of direction or instruction by being able to distinguish and simplify, then we can execute. So
Mhm.
Chantel, again, thank you so much for joining us and for giving us and our audience some tips on how to do marketing better. So we really appreciate you being here. And of course, to our audience, we appreciate you being here. Make sure to comment, like, share this interview with Chantel. And of course, we'll see you next week on another episode of the Franchise Woman Podcast, where passion and purpose collide, profits are made, and relationships forged.